Okay, so Larissa, come on out.
Hey,
Nice to
how are
see you.
you?
Nice to back the Ontario people here.
That's the way to go. If we had pancakes, we'd all be having maple syrup right now with it, right? Right? I'm like, there you go.
Or what about those butter tarts she keeps making for me?
Oh, Lord Almighty, I don't buy them anymore. If we do, I have to eat it for breakfast because they're the big ones you get up in cottage country. Are those ones, Emma, that you're talking about? Yeah,
Yeah, she
yeah.
makes them too.
Yeah, my mom and I make them.
Oh, Lord. See, I don't want to have that gift.
Well, thanks so much for coming on, Larissa. For those of you just coming
Thank you.
on, I'm Elle Ingalls. I'm the host of this program and the creator of the Pressure Free Method. And our next guest here is Larissa Mills. And I'm just ready to dive in with you because you have some great content. I'm so happy that I found you.
Thank
And
you.
so
Thank you.
feel free to introduce yourself here, Larissa,
Great.
and then dive right
Great.
in.
Can I share my screen with everyone?
Let me give you
Okay.
permission.
All right. Let me see if I can.
Hold
Yeah,
on, I'll
just
make you co-host.
Yep.
Boom.
All right. I'd like to actually get in my presentation that I have. I have a little one here just as background slides
Sure.
for everyone. And many of you know who have seen my presentations, if we go in presentation mode, it just doesn't work. We all freeze. So if you can all see this screen here,
Yeah, it looks good.
then I'll stay here. But if yeah, because we have a tendency to it just freezes. So essentially what I do is I have a background in psychology, cognitive behavior. I was a multi-sport athlete. Volleyball was my big sport. I started to see a change in behavior in athletes around 2007 when phones had already been in actually for 4 years, not the iPhone. The iPhone came in 2007. And I started to see this behavior change in the classroom. I was a behavioral consultant for the schools. I love teaching. I love being with kids and I love coaching. And I started to see them becoming addicted to their phones. And it took not a year for this to happen when the phones were given to them. And then I started to notice that the staff changes. The behavior in my staff was a little chippier and a little bit more selfish and a little bit more, I need my time and I can't, became a very common phrase. So, and this is what I'm going to share with you today, that phones are impacting every bit of your daily lives in terms of how people behave now, because they impact your brain and you can't help it. And that's the other danger of this. So my research went through the Pediatric Association of Ontario, and I work with the American, British, and Australian. I have tried to get more money for more funding, but right now that is very tough. But I'm going to share with you today some strategies in which leaders can be aware of what is happening in their own culture. So I use culture because it could be, I work with coaches, sports coaches in hockey, football, soccer, but we also work in HR, so in corporate worlds and whatnot. So I'm going to gloss it over in a big word. Just in society, we are in trouble. And here's the reasons why, in which partly all of them are multifactorial, but mostly it's because phones are changing our behavior. And we've kind of allowed it, but necessarily we can't keep allowing it because education might not be possible in 15 years. That's a scary thought. And sports will become highly more volatile with more parent, the fights amongst parents right now and coaches. And your best leaders and your best coaches and your best teachers are going to leave first. That's what's going to happen. And so it only brings up the ones with less mental skills and less habits, etc. So how are phones affecting leadership? Well, it's kind of like a trickle down effect, but also like a trickle up. It actually happens both when you're in the leadership role. So my team is phenomenal. I learn from my teammates every day. It's not just me here. You see another guy there you might know, Tag Cosgrove. He's amazing. We have Rob Palante, Shawnee Harley, who's an Olympic coach. And we just actually partnered with Manchester United coach Pete Lowe today, which was amazing. He believes in this leadership and how phones are changing the behavior of the athletes, how we coach them as leaders as well. So I'm really excited about that. But Why do leaders need to adapt to the phone addicted? Well, because in the recent studies, there was another research article that came out from, I believe it was New England Journal of Medicine yesterday, that in the next 10 years, we are going to have the most uncoachable, unteachable, and unemployable people ever that we've ever seen in a generation. What does this mean? This means low productivity and higher emotional work, right? And that's the way it's going to go. So if we increase tech, like I usually have a little visual here, but I couldn't get it in my little video to work. So if we increase tech, we're decreasing socialization and communication skills. They happen on polar opposite scales. So what's really frightening is that we used to be outside 4 to 6 hours a day, or we'd be socializing 4 to 6 hours a day 20 years ago. And this lack of green time or socialization and the change in parenting styles as another factor has altered our behavior. So imagine you're outside having all of this great time and allowed to de-stress, but you're also like, you're like learning from the other kids in the neighborhood. Oh yeah, you're a bully. How do I react to you? Now kids are bullied 24/7 on their phones.
Mhm.
So there's less time to breathe and less time to calm the brain. And the focus of my work is neuroscience and the brain and cognitive behavior. And the more a leader can take in this information, understand what's in front of them, we have the solutions as well. So when people are on their phones for 4 to 12 hours a day, it does a number on your nervous system. So when I teach this class to my little athletes or my older performing athletes, we get a pop can and I sit them down, and in the workshop the whole day, I said, every time you want to touch your phone, even though you're not, I want you to shake your pop can. Because what's happening to your brain is, here's your nervous system attaching to your brain. And every time you do, you shake it. And it literally is like a stimulation to the nervous system, and it surges in dopamine and cortisol. So it surges your heart rate up, and then it revs your nervous system. And a lot of athletes and coaches that come to us and leaders say, like, I'm nervous all the time. I'm like, actually, it's really not nerves. It's just your phone. It's your phone making you feel like you are anxious, because those are the physical reactions and symptoms that it's giving you. But it's really your phone reacting to the brain chemistry. That's what your brain does in fight or flight. So essentially, we know phones are causing this, but what is it doing to behavior? Okay, now we know what's happening in the brain, because 5 to 10 hours of phone time a day, which kids are doing and adults, leads to what we're seeing today in society, which is virtually a mess of behavior. We don't know how to control our emotions. We don't know how to regulate. We don't know how to self-talk, because parents aren't spending the time teaching it to their kids. I have just seen a new study that came out that actually said that less children are being read to at night, and they're using an iPad alone in their room to do it. Like, that to me was it is the most scientifically important time for a child to the age of 12 or whatever, or 11, to read to them in bed. And that's when their brains relax and when we get the most bonding. And our mental skills assessments and the psychologists and psychiatrists that we work with are seeing that children are failing the bond of security and attachment tests, because they don't have any bonding with a role of authority in their house. And parents aren't providing those boundaries. Now, how does this apply to leadership? Same way. Same way. So if I am going into my team and I'm an executive and I have 12 people on my team, this is how you're going to interpret behavior, is that they're going to be in this rev mode all day. So you can either balance phones out in your office, which 3M actually is now turned to shut off. You can't go on any social media at 3M during the day, because they don't want that revving and the extra social media addiction, which is another adrenaline kick. So they have found that has been more productive. But how it changes our brain is it makes us lazier. Our brains actually just shut off and we just watch videos or we look at things, because our talking in our brain actually helps ward off dementia and ALS and all the neurological disorders that we didn't know about. So that's pretty cool to learn about. So talking actually wards off disease, which I didn't know. So my husband goes, well, you're good. So I'm like, okay, bud. So our behavior changed dramatically when it's like being addicted to cocaine. And if it were not a phone, this is what you're doing, is getting that little hit every day that you want to make yourself soothe. And that's what our kids are doing all day in school, and that's what a lot of adults are doing all day. I had a leader, a corporate executive, call me and say, I can't do this anymore. I cannot handle my staff. They're always on their phones. I can't get them off to go on to work and to have team meetings. The phones are going on. And I said, that's a leadership call. So putting a bowl in there or leaving them on your desk and then coming to the meeting, that's what I do. Phones are off, and I request no one can leave the room now. This is about values. It really does go back to the value system and the leadership system, but here's how it affects everyone. So if we look at everyone as an ecosystem in your business, in your sport, in your school, because we work with all three. We have managers, elite leadership, and we want to have a healthy corporation. We want to have a healthy ecosystem. We have the staff on this side. We want to be productive. This is every level. So if everyone on every level is using their phone 5 to 10 hours a day, you're really working with a moody fight or flight adult, and it's hard to do because everyone's ready to snap. And that's where this program comes into place, where we actually help fill the psychological gaps that adults and youth are missing because they've been on phones. 40-year-olds have been on phones for 27,000 hours. So just so you know that we don't even know the long-term effects of phones. So I always veer on the side of just routine and setting limits for yourself and putting control apps on yourself, because the frontal lobe doesn't really know how to stop. And if you have an addictive personality, phones really are, you can do anything you want on that phone, right? You can do anything you want. So how it affects the ecosystem. So what we do is we go in and we educate each arm of it. So by empowering each arm of your ecosystem to feel better, to manage their phones, to feel the routines, our testimonies say that people feel like, oh, I feel lighter. I feel more relaxed. I feel smarter. I get that a lot. Like I had an athlete the other day. She's like, I feel so much smarter than everyone now. I said, that's because we raised your emotional intelligence and your mental IQ. You now know what's going on in the whole room, and you're on it. And you know how to cope with your own feelings, and you know how to cope with your own mental growth. You now have reached mental fitness. So that's where we want everyone to reach. Part of that is learning how to work with social media as well, because the reason why most people go on their phone isn't actually to text or email, because you can do that all on your laptop. I do everything now on my laptop. I only check my phone when I have it, if I'm out at a kids event. So I've actually designed my computer with help to get everything I need on my computer. So I'm not going to my phone. I even find it agitating to go back and forth all day. So you can design your phone as well that way. So what do we do? So the Mental Game Academy, we have set apart different types of mental skills programs that help create healthy habits and teach about social media, and can help you as a leader gain that knowledge to work better with your teammates. Because let's face it, 61% of people are leaving their work. 70% of kids are leaving their sports by 13. So if that's I left that in there because if we're seeing the majority of kids quit and they don't have the mental capacity to stay in, we're actually losing part of our workforce and part of our university bound children. So that's an important stat. We're seeing it higher and higher. And here's the other fact, is that participation levels, Teg and I were talking about this the other day, they're down. They're all going down. So they're not even signing up for sports, which is detrimental to our Olympic programs and professional programs. 70% of Gen Z are considering leaving their job. That is high, like just that generation. And when we find that, let's say a 50, 60-year-old are in a leadership position working with 25 and 30-year-olds, it's completely different. They feel very very different and distant because the leadership feels they have the social skills, the emotional IQ, the responsibility, the accountability, where the younger kids are coming in and they need boundaries almost to be parented. And that's where we're at. There's a really big distance in the leadership right now because they're different generations with a digital age addicted, employee, if you want, or teammate, and you're trying to get all this work done because you have a higher workload IQ, you can handle more. So it's very, very interesting to see this psychology play out when I walk into a, I can spot it when you walk in and I can see the ecosystem right there. And 89% of kids under the age of 18 are addicted to their phones, but 75% of adults are addicted to theirs. So if both children and adults are addicted to their phones, when are the children bonding and learning? They're not, right? So that's a really important fact. The other thing that coaches and leaders are told me is that people are coming into work with less critical thinking skills. That is a big thing. I don't want you to go to your phone and problem solve. I want you to problem solve up here with all of us. And how are you effectively communicating that? We need you to be resilient and to be able to cope. And right now we're losing that ability. So our program helps you learn all those things, which is really effective. The other thing we really notice is that with social media, it affects the brain in much the same way as just checking your phone. But social media makes you stay there longer because you have already touched on all the items that you like and that you want, and it formulates through algorithms the things that you like. And we know this, scientifically we know this, but it doesn't help the undeveloped brain. It doesn't help the person who can't get off because it gives you're late for work. You're late for everything. And it makes you feel busier because you're thinking you're looking at everything, but really you just wasted 7 hours on TikTok when you could have been using it to go to the gym, hang out with friends, self-growth, do extra work to get ahead in your job. And now we're finding there are less people through Rogers. We just met with one of the CEOs. There are less people applying for higher level positions because they don't think they can handle more work now. That is a dangerous stepping stone, right? So we help people balance their tech. And it's really rewarding when they're like, I love this because now I feel free. A lot of people will say that they feel more free and they're not tethered to their phone. They feel in control of it. And that's what we want. Our athletes or our leadership, we really like it when they say to us, oh no, I'm good. Like since I've been on my routine, I don't have my phone in my room. I don't touch it for 30 minutes in the morning. They're following their habits and routines because you can teach anyone to do anything. But the difference is what's up here in their mental game and their mental space, because I can have 1,000 athletes, all 18, almost all at the same level, but I'm only going to take the athletes that I see that have their mental space up here very strong, resilience, emotionally intelligent. I can tell now when I look at a gym who are the most social confident kids, and I'm like, I don't even need to look at their skills. I'll just bring them over here to me because I know I can coach them up, right? And that's what leaders are doing. Just bring me the most social, effective communicators and bring them my way, because that's what will help you with your teams. So here are some of the solutions. So we train the mental skills and we help you create habits because phones have actually done 3 things. They have created a space in which people are not effective with their work ethic. They're not effective with their work habits. They're not effective with their own work routines. It's almost like we're just in limbo all day. So once we establish and reset values in your team as a leader, this is where everything trickles down and works. So really, really effective after you set this up. So what do we teach specifically? We teach 4 steps to resilience, healthy phone habits, and 5 pillars of emotional intelligence, introspective leadership. And here's where the team IQ and the culture IQ comes in, because if you have 31 people on your team and one person doesn't take this course, that person doesn't have the mental IQ that everyone else has. So it's really interesting when you see it in a football team or a hockey team, and you can see the people who did not take the course, they feel a little out of it, they self-doubt more and generally will quit. It's really interesting because now we have more evidence that just by teaching more of these skill sets and setting these people up with habits, they're flourishing. Soon as we just help them reduce that phone time, because before I did this, and Teg and I always look at it, when we teach the program, I couldn't teach it at first years ago because I wasn't incorporating the phone reduction and the social media education to the athletes and the leaders and the coaches. And then all of a sudden I implemented the first day setting up a phone routine, but I only taught them about their brain and I only taught them how they're sabotaging themselves. The kids put themselves on a phone routine and the adults, because I don't want to say you should. I want you to know you should. There's a difference, but I don't say you should. I say these are your choices. You can reach your goal here, and these are all the steps you're going to do to reach your goal, or you can stay here and you can stay stagnant. Up to you, your choice. They choose to do it, which is exactly what we want. So our program is called Sharpen Your Mental Edge for corporations and for coaches. It's a 10-hour course, usually 8 to 10 weeks for adults. We give a letter of reference for a job as well when you work with us. So, I mean, who doesn't want to have employees that have mental skills, communication, digital wellness, and leadership, right? And it makes it easier because now if we re-educate your whole team, the leader who is the daily grinder is now got a much easier job. So you've taken 90% of your focus on the problem, like say 10% of your team, you're dealing with personality issues. That 10% of issues is now gone. So imagine how much more productive you could be, right? And how much more efficient your relationships are, because we teach you how to have more efficient relationships, because leaders take the brunt of all stress. Leaders take the brunt of all pressure. They take the brunt of everyone's personalities, and they have to help everyone fix and massage those dynamics and learn how to mediate. But we do that. So they're really, really rewarding. And I'm thrilled to be doing it with the people that we are. So essentially we try to, in sports, help you become all mental, all you, all game. But for adults in HR, we call this all you, all mental, all day, because you have to be ready in how you're going to show up every day. And it's a very competitive world out there. And now getting those people that have the most social skills and effective leadership are being sought after, because they're, instead of being 25 out of 30, now there's only 5 out of 30 of effective communicators now using stats. So we definitely would love to help. We're definitely here to answer any questions, but I'd like to open it up to anyone who has any questions about phones and how to sort of fix your routines or your habits.
Yeah, this is so great, Larissa. I would love for you to just give a sample of like a phone routine that people could employ. Just a simple one.
Yeah, sure. So the first thing we try to do is actually go with the night routine, right? Your night routine is more important in your brain than your morning routine, actually. So we set our athletes and our corporate leaders up with a mental skills practice that they do every night. So removing the phones out of the room is the first thing. Putting an alarm clock back in the room is the second thing.
Uh-huh.
And that nighttime routine where our brains we've done this to them all day, and they need a chance to relax. We need a chance to let our brains actually clean. There's a cleaning cycle in our brains twice a night that we need. So many kids are not getting the REM sleep once a night, or adults. So set the phones out, mental practice skills and drills in your head, journaling, and shutting that phone off exactly 1 hour before you would go to sleep. That would be one. How you wake up, same thing. Start with your IMs, your mantras. How do you want to show up today? What are your goals? Because we're very goal oriented. Leadership and leaders always are very short-term and long-term goal focused. Same with athletes. So what do you want to do today? What do you want to get out of today for yourself? Because if we're not doing our own self-growth and analysis, that's where we run into problems with behavior, really. So if we're checking our behavior ourselves and everyone's doing it, then we're all going to function better, right? It's going to look beautiful. It's going to look easy, right? So then in the morning, I always like to set up on a daily routine. When can you check your phone if you want to go on your social media that works for your time schedule? So you're not interfering with your kids if you have kids, or you're not interfering with your physical fitness. So a lot of people set it up for 9, 12, 3, 6, and 9 to check social media. And I give you not even 5 minutes to check it all. People generally are going for 7 hours. So we get them from 7 hours down to 2.5. So remarkable. By
Yeah.
sticking to the phone routines during the day and your social media, you're not just randomly using your phone. Put your phones away. The other thing to set up your routine is put everything that you can onto your computer that you can work with. And if you're working with social media, use a medium like Canva, or I think it's there's lots of them out there, but that actually you set up to post on social media yourself. It's an engine that'll do it. So you're not on your phones. And try to call more, try to text more, try to FaceTime more, because it's actually better for your brain when you talk or when you listen. So those are just some of the main tips that we can provide.
I think that talking is really, I
It's
haven't heard that
number one.
before. And I haven't heard that before, the importance of talking.
It's so important. And
Yeah.
it actually is more effective. The other day I started to write an email. I'm like, scratch it, I'll call them.
Yes.
I am much more effective in my tone and inflection in my voice
Oh, yeah.
and what I'm asking to do than if I were to put that into an email.
Mhm.
And you get a direct communication. You get an immediate reaction. I know that Tag, I don't know if you feel, since we've been working together, how we've noticed that, and this is, we're not joking, Tag and I have had multiple meetings, like 100 in the last few months, and we haven't had a no. Everyone's wanted to do this program. It's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah,
Wow.
because they're noticing that it reduces behavioral issues in the schools, in their business, and in their sports, because everyone's a little antsy.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that is really powerful. And I'm curious, what is the difference between putting things on our computer versus putting things on our phone?
Oh, very simple. So if I go onto my phone, I'm tempted to go to my social media apps
Oh,
directly.
got it. Okay, got it.
Right. So and if I'm on my computer, yes, they're still here, but you have to go to your browser to do
Right.
it unless you put the app on your laptop. So I removed all that from my computer
Uh-huh.
and it's on my phone. And I don't do, like, I have a TikTok account, but it's all posted. I don't look at it. I don't go on it.
Mhm.
And I have to be a role model for my kids.
Right, right.
So we have adapted the rules, those rules I've suggested to you, and our household, like our kids are the only ones that didn't have a phone until grade 9.
Yeah.
And in our area, but yet they're the most social, they get the most opportunities, they're president of student council, they're captains of their teams, they're just more confident, and they can socialize with adults. So I
Yeah.
know I'm giving my kids the best edge ahead.
Yeah.
They call me the Karen of the tech world, but I'm absolutely fine with that. And that's okay with me, because we still don't know, and my husband's a physician, ER physician, and a
Uh-huh.
background in neuroscience. So it's interesting. He's like, we don't know what this is really doing yet.
Oh, yes. I agree
So
with you on that.
let's just moderation here.
My
Let's
kids
just,
are
yeah,
my kids are older, but they didn't have phones till they could drive, so they were 16.
that's interesting.
It was just like
That's
that was the
interesting.
thing, you know, oh, when you drive, you might need a phone. But I didn't even have a cell phone till I started my business. I mean, I was
I
traveling
don't
with my
think,
kids, never
I
had a
think
cell
I did my master's in Buffalo, where I went to school, and my mom bought
phone.
me a flip phone in 1998. That was my first phone, and it weighed like a rock.
Oh, right, right,
Like it weighed a lot. But I didn't go to it because, again, it had no social media on it,
right, right. It was just a
right?
phone.
It's the social media and the gambling and the high risk apps that are on
Oh,
there
yes, right,
that
right,
distract us, that used to not distract us 20 years ago,
right.
right? And when you have not connected with a parent and not connecting with adults of your own age, you need something to soothe your escape, and you're going to go on your phone.
Yeah.
So what that does is in your office, when you are trying to take everyone to a new level, you're going to get a lot of more challenging behavior now,
Yeah,
right?
pushback.
We're seeing a lot more medical leave. We're seeing a lot more leave. We're seeing a lot more quitting, but also your leaders are pushed to the max. And some of them now, they're actually feeling, if I had just had this equipment, if you will, mentally, they could cope with um being that non-stress leader that they want to be,
Right,
right?
right.
Because they preempted things instead of reacted to things.
Exactly.
They set up everything. Like, we can help do all that, and it's been really rewarding because their offices will start, like, their commissions will just grow if you work on
Wow.
commissions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're and getting people that are devoted and answering, actually, mental skills evaluations are now being used to hire employees, because
Wow.
if they're not up on their mental skills, they're going to be a harder work, they're going to be less of a employee that's going to commit, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Larissa, this is really fantastic. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Um,
Thank you for having me.
yeah, absolutely. Just really powerful on especially the talking thing. I don't know why that's, and also the fact that we're not having people of skill level that can even take leadership positions. That's
No, we're actually decreasing the amount of people that will take leadership, and I have to say that it's reflective into our sports, because today there are actually so many athletes out there that we work with in different levels, like NCAA or pro or whatever it is, or in any sport, and they're finding that no one wants to step up as leader
right, right.
because they don't want to deal with the different dynamics, the different personalities, and everyone wants to kind of just be in their own zone. And phones do a great job of making us want to just do ourselves.
Yeah, I had a
Right.
client
So,
who he was
yeah,
made captain his freshman year at a college lacrosse program. He was captain all 4 years
that's excellent.
because they didn't have
Excellent.
anybody who could step up. It was so
Right.
interesting.
Right. Like Tag,
Um,
Tag works a lot in sports.
yeah.
He was an athletic director, and I think he's seeing a pattern. Tag, do you want to answer to that too? Because that's more you would see more of who wants to step up as leader. I'm not seeing as many people step up, but I'm seeing some people who want to, they don't know how, and then they take a course and then they can, right? That's what I'm
Right.
kind of.
There's really quickly, there's just a total leadership vacuum. Elle, to your point, like,
Yeah.
I think back to middle school sports where all of a sudden a coach says, okay, Joey and Susie, you're the captains. How have we prepared them to be captains? They've got nothing.
Yeah.
So, there's this incessant failure of preparing leaders. And obviously I'll be talking later, but one of the things that's inspired me to actually step away and retire from what I'm doing is because of that leadership vacuum at the top and how it's been impacted. Today's society
Yeah.
is scaring people away. People are afraid to step up. And so that's that leadership mindset that's got to get reset so that we can do the right thing to have the leaders that we want. We got to take care of the kids. We got to get them prepared so that we can get things back on track.
Wow.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Well, we're
It's
going to move to
amazing.
our
So
next
that's what.
speaker. Whoops, go ahead.
Go ahead.
We're going to move to our
Thank
next
you.
speaker. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Alex, we're going to bring you out. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording again. So we'll stop.